And here I am. Good morning. Savva here from Football Heritage TV. Yes, yes, yes. Before anyone says it, I know the video needs to change. The free relegated clubs need to come out. The promoted teams need to go in. Hold your horses. It is going to happen. I'm also going to mix up a couple of those goals that start at the beginning will be from this year's Champions League final. So let the Champions League final take place, and I promise you that the intro will change and be updated. But in my defense, it does take a while for that animation to be converted into video, and I don't do it myself. Hope everyone is good. Daily diatribe from Savva. Okay, I'm not sure how to take that, but okay, fair enough. As you were, my friend. Morning. I just wanted to say something really quickly. Look, it's not my business, but it kind of is my business. So I've seen I'm sure you've all seen that there's something going around in regards to another Spurs YouTuber who has unfortunately been pulling the wool over some people's eyes, committing fraud, stealing money, etc., etc. And I just wanted to put that myth that all people are doing that to bed. As you all know, I have a 24-hour live charity stream coming up on Friday. So I wanted to confirm with people, and I wanted to prove to people that when I do it, I don't see the money. The only money I would see is if people put it in via a super chat, and then I link it straight to Just Giving. So I just wanted to show a few people, and I know in myself I shouldn't have to, but I feel like it's the right thing to do so that people can be completely comfortable if they do donate that the money's going there. So I just wanted to show a few things. So first and foremost, I'm going to show you this picture, which shows that the Just Giving page is set up for ignore the camera there. That the Just Giving page is set up, ready to go. I don't have any access to this. This is British Heart Foundation's page, as you can see there. As you can see at the bottom there. And then here we have proof that the money went into the two accounts. You can see that there was one for the Turkey-Syria earthquake appeal. There was one for the British Heart Foundation as well. And then there is proof here that they're saying Just Giving page is now live and ready to receive donations, and that we're happy to have you back again, because again means I've worked with them before. So that's an official email from them. So listen, I'm not saying anyone who was doubting me, but I just wanted to let people know that, okay? Because I think what certain people have been doing is absolutely disgusting. Anyway, as we were, so this is the morning show. This is the morning rant when people can put in any questions they want into the chat, and I will answer them. And then if any people from my WhatsApp groups that I've sent the stream link to join, then they will answer as well. This is a chance for us to talk all things Spurs. Yes, today is the Europa League final. Jose Mourinho is back in action against the perennial winners of the Europa League, Seville. So that should be a great game. But Tottenham Hotspur, today what I want to talk about is how much money do you think we're going to spend this summer? And yes, Strasbourg Steve, smash the likes, people. There's 100 of you in here already, only 20 likes. That means only 20% of you have smashed those likes. So how much money are we going to spend, people? How much money are we going to spend? It's a really interesting one, to be honest, because you've got Pedro Porro and Kulusevski that both have to be paid for. Now, I'm not an expert, but my understanding is that between the two of them, we're looking at close to 75, 80 million. Somebody in the chat will probably tell me wrong, somebody who's a stickler for numbers. Now, my question is, if we're spending 75, 80 million, did they have that budgeted? Does that eat into whatever the transfer fund was going to be for this summer? Is it 80 million plus whatever we're going to spend this summer, plus player sales? Because we're not in the Champions League, is Daniel Levy not going to spend as much? Are we going to be looking at free transfers? All of these questions, very difficult to answer, right? Because we don't have the manager, we don't have the director of football, and that's that, right? But I'm interested to know your point of view. So get your questions in and we'll go through them together. By the way, if I answer a question, it's only my opinion and we'll talk through it together. So yeah, and let me know, who do you think will win the Europa League final? I mean, listen, I find it really difficult with this one because it's hard to see past Roma because this is what Jose does, but it's hard to see past Seville because this is what they do. So this is a really intriguing matchup that I think will be a very tight encounter. Hater of the Glazer, big up to you. Carl Simpson, good morning to you as well. Good morning to Ron Vignac. Yeah, that was a very surprising story, and it doesn't reflect well on other people. Ariel is in the house. James Murray is in the house. Hello to you. Prasanth is in the house. Finn Rickwood is in the house. Jimmy's in the house. Craig's in there. There's lots of people in the house. Mr. Alan Sibley is in the house. Big up, Alan. Hope you are well. So let me know any questions that you've got. Let's start off straight away. We've got a question in here from Strasbourg Steve, who said, who's winning Europa League finals day, Seville or Roma? As I just said, for me, this is going to be really tight. I'm going to go with I feel like this could be a 1-0 or 2-1 masterclass from Jose. Let me know your score predictions down below, because Roma have sort of floated away a little bit in terms of, well, they did in terms of the Champions League race in Serie A, but have been flying in Europe. And this man would have taken Roma from Conference League winning their first European trophy ever to Europa League winning their second European trophy in 2 years and back to the Champions League. People want to tell me that he's dusted as a manager. I think not. Jimmy has said, working from my home desk, have to rate Savva for this kind of entertainment so early on. Thanks, man. Listen, yeah, I got up early and everything for this. And I'm on a diet as well. I'm on a strict diet where I only eat 900 calories a day for 20 days. So I am starving and just had my 2 eggs, which is my breakfast. Big up to you, Craig Henshaw. Big up, Josh. I think I made you a mod yesterday. Let me know if that hasn't worked. Good morning to Lewis. Hope you are well, Lewis. Good morning to Leon, Felix, Cooper as well. Getting lots of regulars back. It's a really interesting one, isn't it? If we go back to thanks, Perchy. Yes, I tried to be one of the good ones, mate, and I don't see any of the money. The only money that I would see is if anyone puts in super chats. But Perchy, as you know, I send that straight over to the British Heart Foundation. This is a cause that I do not mess with. As I said, both my parents passed away through heart problems, so I do not mess about with this sort of charity. And I've got the receipts and emails from British Heart Foundation thanking me for giving money, whereas the other person we're talking about actually put the money into a PayPal account that was then meant to be transferred over. So there's a huge difference. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, absolutely. Pubsy, listen, people can donate through the super chats. I do put it in, but listen, I tell them to put it through the Just Giving page because it's up to people which way they want to do it. I really don't mind. The money will get there either way. It's not a problem for me. I've been donating money to charity, 3 events a year for the last 10 years. So for me, this is just a normal thing. But unfortunately, the timing of Rez's video yesterday, and I'm not blaming Rez, absolutely, he was in the right to do it. But the timing of that video yesterday really coincided with with what I'm doing on Friday. Ron, big up my man, said, Sav, I've donated to your 24-hour stream a couple of times. You ain't no fraud. I get direct email from the foundation. Perfect. There you go. Absolutely, mate. Morning, Craig. Big up to you, Craig. Ariel thinks that 120 million, but 20 million net because of player sales. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting one, guys, isn't it? It's going to be really interesting to see how much money we actually make in player sales. I think it's going to be very much 10 million here, 15 million there. I can only see the only big sale I can see is if the Kane sale goes through. I'm not saying it will. Other than that, if they let maybe a Højbjerg go to a Roma, something like that, maybe 30 million, 35 million. I can't see that sort of money for anybody else. I really can't. Big up, Perchy. How are you, my man? You good?
Yeah, I've got a little work to do, but I thought I'd just pop in for a little bit and just jump in with you. And mate, listen, and just to sort of, just as also obviously fair play bringing up what you mentioned. Obviously, we all saw it yesterday, and it was absolutely disgusting. By the way, I just wanted to just say, and obviously, I understand that there will be skepticism within the community about this stuff. And listen, I just wanted to sort of just put my 50 pence out there, mate. You're one of the good guys. That's what I said earlier. You are one of the guys. And the fact is what's happened is disgusting, and we are collectively against what's happened. And when we all found out, we were disgusted. This is absolutely. And as I said, I don't want to give that man any time of day, by the way. Like, so that's why I will not mention his name, because I'm disgusted. But I just want to say, like, listen, like, and charity's charity in a sense. And what you do is amazing, by the way. Your streams are amazing. I'll be jumping in, helping you out throughout the 24 hours. And obviously, people know that I want to start doing one soon for my uncle who passed away this year. Cancer and stuff. So.
But look, Perchy, you know what I do. So this comment, I'm going to address this comment. I feel like these things need to be addressed. Where Fitzpatrick has said, at Savva, you showed about GoFundMe. So, okay, so you're talking about the Just Giving page, but you also claim your super chats from charity streams go into charity too. Would be good if there's some accountability on that end too. Yeah, I tell you what, I'm not going to do is I'm not going to post pictures of my bank account, if I'm really, really honest, onto YouTube. Listen, Fitzpatrick, what I do is in the stream, I tell everyone, here is the link. Here is the link to the Just Giving page. If people want to put in super chats, they can, and I transfer that. People have to trust me on that. I'm not going to be tarred with the same brush as somebody that didn't give any money to charity at all. I do these every 3 months. As you've seen, you witness the money going into the Just Giving page. If you dig deep into those Just Giving pages, I think there's a way you'll be able to see where there's installments from me into the Just Giving page. So there's actually, you can see it's my name coming out of my bank account, but I'm not going to put my bank account online. Funnily enough, that, especially when we're talking about people who are fraudulent. Perchy, let's move it to football. And thank you for whoever said I don't need to go on a diet and I look like Tom Hardy. I'll take that all day long. Perchy, this year, it's an interesting one, isn't it? We've still got to pay for Porro. We've still got to pay for Kulu if they decide to go down that route. My understanding that's going to be somewhere 70 north. How does that affect our transfer budget for the summer? Because I don't know about you. I can't see them spending 70, 80 million on those two, then spending another 120. I just can't see that we're going to lay out 200 million pounds. This worries me.
Of course, massively worries. I think we all... you could argue in the sense that certain people, you could include myself to a certain degree, said, oh, well, the whole sort of system with the moving money was a good thing. But yeah, you're right. We've got to pay for these players. Yeah. These players have to be paid for. So however we have to see it, and a lot of our money is going to have to come from player sales. We're going to have to start selling players very quickly.
Yeah. But I mean, realistically, who's going to make money as an outgoing player?
Agreed. That's what I was just going to get at.
Who do you think?
I mean, you might get. I mean, if you work your way down, I mean, you're barely going to get anything for someone like a Lloris now. You might get 3 or 4 million, maybe. Højbjerg, if someone comes in, but no one's really spoken about that. Harry Kane.
It does. For me, I said, I think we had this conversation a while back. I feel like it needs to be a Kane or a Son.
It may need to be both. And people don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But you're right. We haven't got if you took those two away from it and you look around that squad, there's not many 25, 30 million pound plus players.
Yeah.
Really, realistically. I mean, you could argue maybe Bentancur, but he's out. So you're not going to be able to sell him. So
yeah.
You keep looking around it. I don't see many 25 to 30 million pound players apart from Kane and Son who are north of that. And and this is the argument. This is the argument, by the way, about the Kulusevski one. And I was with Jacob yesterday. I was with a few others. And I had Alan Clark on my show talking about the Kulusevski thing. The Kulusevski one's a weird one because I hear a load of it. I hear it should be a no-brainer signing him. Why? Do you see my point?
Mate, I massively do. I've said this, right? Sometimes people just react, right? So I've always said, right, Perchy, that for me, if Spurs sign Kulusevski, I've got no problem with it.
Yeah,
If Spurs don't sign Kulusevski, I've equally got no problem with it. For me, I don't think he's this wonderful footballer that everyone thinks he is. I think he's talented.
Yep, agreed.
I think for me, he's very one-paced, which for me
he's one-dimensional as a player.
I think he is one-dimensional. I think, look, I'm not knocking him. He's a decent player.
Yeah, but a good player.
When I look at it as in, right, do I want 80 million of our transfer budget to go on him and Porro on that right-hand side, that between them, one can't defend, one doesn't score goals? It's kind of like, is that where 80 million pounds should be going? I'm not so sure. But equally, I'll put this in case anyone wants to try and clip it and say, if we do sign Kulu, I didn't want him. I don't mind if we sign him.
I'm the same.
I don't mind.
I haven't got a problem with it. But the one narrative that I hear, and it's the one thing I do get really irritated with, was he was great last season. So we're basically basing a player who played good for 4 months and has been crap for 8. Or however long the season is. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
When we say he was good last season, he was good because he played February, March, April, May, 4 months. But this season, I think he has been massively woeful, and he's played all season, barring a spell where he got injured, and he scored 2 goals all season. I mean, Pedro Porro scored more goals than him this season. Make that of what you will. We signed him on the last day in January.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I've never known a squad that needs so much work to it in a summer. I honestly, I look at other clubs and you say, okay, what do Arsenal need? All right, they got a really good 11. Arsenal need to bulk out a bit, right? You know, Man United, you could say Man United need a top centre forward, maybe a top centre half, and another midfielder or fullback. I look at Spurs and it's all over the pitch. It's just all over the pitch. And this is going to need very clever recruitment. And the worrying thing for me is there are very good recruitment teams out there. You look at Brighton, you look at Brentford, you look at the likes of Ralf Rangnick, what he did in Germany. There's many others. Paul Mitchell, you know, I could go on and on.
Of course.
Problem is, Perchy, those people are normally in situ planning before the end of the season, right?
Agreed.
We've now got to hire somebody that implements a plan and scouts players in an 8-week period and gets them through the door. And that for me is why when I see people saying who's going to come in and get us fourth, it's like, whoa, slow down. We're not that club now. We're not that club. So
I was going to say, here's a question for you, and it's also a question for the chat as well. If right now, would you take whoever the new manager is and whoever the new director of football is? Let's just say, for argument's sake, they come in. Let's be positive for a second. It's Nagelsmann and Rangnick. Let's just say it's those two. I don't think it will be, but let's just say, for argument's sake, that is the case. Would you take next season? Write it off. Do you know what? We're not gonna go and spend loads of money. We might buy in 2 or 3 loan deals and have a really, really underwhelming transfer window. However, the potential for that is that actually what it does, it gives us 12 months to find our philosophy that we want. That it allows 12 months for the likes of Nagelsmann to go and say, I want to keep him, and him. And then next season is a season that we, over that period, where we find young talent. Brilliant, you've got a Bristol City fan that tatted it, likes of an Alex Scott. Not here trying to sign your players, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'll take him all day long. I'll take Alex Scott all day long.
That caliber of player where they're young, they're in that sort of 17 to 22 age range where they're young, talented. And we purposely aim to start building for next season. And this is, I think this is something you say, and it's so poignant in this thing. We need to stop thinking about the here and now because we're miles off it. We have a massive debate in the WhatsApp group when people think that we're still a fashionable club in the sense to go to. I don't see it. I don't get what people think that we are. And no one really tells me that we can offer decent players, not even elite players, decent players to go, come to Tottenham. Why?
I think, listen, I'll come back to that in 1 second. Just quickly, I think that next level English, when you're saying Kulu was outstanding in the first season, I think we've got to remember that Kulu played 3 months.
4 months.
4 months. Okay, he's played 4 months.
Yeah.
And the sample size of that compared to what I've seen this year, I mean, this is the problem. When we're using superlatives like outstanding, people are saying he was class. And it's like, okay, but then the massive drop-off, surely then, if he's that good, is a concern.
Yeah.
That's a concern.
Agreed.
People have dips in form. By the way, people, I am starring questions and we will get to them in a minute. So don't think that I'm not answering your questions.
You're right with that. And I just wanted to make the point on that, though. Let's take our Tottenham hat on and we love our ginger from Sweden, our number 21 from Juventus and all that crap. Take that off. Kulusevski's had more bad games at Tottenham than he's had good games. I think if we weren't Spurs fans, we'd all agree. If you asked any other rival fan, they would say, no, I think Kulusevski's a good player, but this season he's not been good. He's had more poor games and he's had good games for Tottenham. I will take over. This is the Perchy Heritage TV. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. But this is my point with Kulusevski. I don't want people to think that I want to get rid of him because I don't. I think he's a good player. He's a good player. But if the next manager comes in and they want an attacking player, let's just say that's the situation. They want a high-intense attacking player. Kulusevski's not really that. He hasn't got a lot of pace. I feel he's very one-dimensional. And I think that's not...
Sorry, mate.
No, that's fine. I was just sort of making the point of, if the next manager comes in and they want to play high-pressing football, Kulusevski's not your player. Surely, wouldn't you rather that 25 to 35 million pound that we will be spending on him, wouldn't you rather that money go on a winger that suits the next manager?
Well, this is the key thing for me. It's a really difficult one, right? It's emotion versus being pragmatic for me.
Yeah.
The emotion is Kulusevski had a really good 3 or 4 months. He's great. We must sign him whatever the cost. But we don't know who the manager is.
Agreed.
We don't know how they want to play. And from what I've seen from Kulu, as I said, he's a good footballer. But for me, I think it's too up and down. He's had a lot of clubs in a very short career so far. I think, aren't we like his 4th club by the age of 22? That for me, that for me is a worry. Unless it's like Haaland, who's going from this level to that level to that level to that level. But Juventus
let him done that, hasn't he? Really,
Juventus let him go on an 18-month loan, which always makes me think. But listen, I'm not knocking him. I think I like him. But as I said, I'll leave the Kulu subject there, Perchy. But I'm not bothered either way if we sign him or not. I've seen better at Spurs. I think we need some legs in there.
Agreed.
I truly believe if him, Son and Kane start the season again as the front three, again, Sonny's getting older and we're not seeing that blistering pace anymore. Kulu's not got any pace. Kane drops deep and doesn't have pace. It all makes it a little bit...
No pace.
Yeah, it makes it all very rigid. I just like to mix it up a bit. I feel like... And I've even said I'd mix up the Kane and Son. And I know people will hate this and get your thoughts in on this, people. I've said for a while now, I'd mix up the Son and Kane partnership because for me, I think it's become predictable. I think it's become stagnant, and we've seen it for 7 or 8 years now. And I think I'd like to see something. Only me. I'd like to see something different. I'm not saying both of them, but I wouldn't be bothered if Son and Kulusevski went and we got in some younger players and built. Yeah. I wouldn't, honestly.
Agreed. And I think this is the other point. And I know we're going to move on from the Kulusevski one. But here's the point: if Kulusevski doesn't fit the model on what we want to go forward, isn't signing him exactly what we've been doing for the last decade? Just signing players because we think it's a good deal.
Yeah,
it's not a good deal if he doesn't fit the system, and that's my argument on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Look, okay. I mean, moving on from Kulusevski, I think what people have got to understand as well. I see a lot of people saying, "Oh my God, I wouldn't lose Kulusevski," and it's like, well, at the moment, he's not ours, right? I think that's the big thing. At the moment, he's
Agreed.
not our player. So this would be one of our summer signings, and for me, I know this sounds awful. It doesn't do anything to excite me. I would like some summer signings that are brand new and that we go, yeah, let's get this lad in. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah.
But and by the way, I'm starring. There's a lot of questions. I am starring them. I don't know how long you've got, Perchy.
I've probably got about 5 or 10 minutes really because I've got loads on. But
there's a lot of questions, so we'll get round to them. Yeah, Jonas, I think this is an interesting one. Look, I've gone on record talking about the manager situation before when I do think this is a slightly skewed number. When we talk about day 66 without a manager, I do feel like this is not right because I don't think any new manager was going to join when we had eight Premier League games to go. We saw it at Chelsea. Poch had the opportunity to take the job and said, no, I will start in the summer when it's fresh from a clean slate.
But the point on this part, when people do the day 66 and all this lot and stuff, let's be frank and honest. After the Sheffield United game, it made no difference who's in charge. Let's be frank and honest. After the Sheffield United and the AC Milan game, the season was done. I think me and you clearly agreed on that part. We just, who cares after that? I didn't want a manager to come in, but the difference is though, the manager needs to come in before pre-season. If that number only becomes a problem if we're basically a week away from pre-season and we've not hired a manager or a director of football, then alarm bells start letting off.
Yeah. Just quickly. So Next Level English said, who are we going to get instead? Do you trust our recruitment? Well, this is what we're talking about. Literally. It's twofold for me. First of all, we've got to see who that recruitment person is, right? Second of all, does Kulu fit how the new manager wants to play? Third of all, to Perchy's point just now, do we just want to buy players because we might not get better? I just don't think that's the right way to run a football club. If you get a manager that wants high energy, high pressing, tracking back, a player that can scare fullbacks, I don't think this is your guy. Yeah. Is it? Look, I think if he played strangely, if he played for a team like an Arsenal or a Man City that are camped in your half, I think he's great because he doesn't have to use pace. Agreed. But in a team like Spurs where it's a lot of counter-attack, a lot this season I've seen him really struggle, Perchy, to get away from his defender. And that's a huge worry for me because he's only 22.
And another one is then people go, well, you can play him as a 10, but we haven't seen enough of him as a number 10 to go, he's good enough to be a number 10. So it's like, so what we're doing is we're trying to find his way into the squad. I don't want that. If we're going to bring it, if Kulusevski is the player, and this is where we try and get with, if he's the player, then I have no problems. But I don't just want to be signing him for the sake of signing him because we're getting a good deal on him. Does that make sense?
And the thing is, people are saying you can't get much for 25 million. This is the problem. A proper director of football and proper scouts will scour Europe and get you those deals. Right? Yeah. So when we're saying we can't get them, look at the players Brentford find. Look at the players Brighton find. How much was Casado? How much was Alexis McAllister? How much was Mitoma? Right? How much is that in Cisco they just bought or that Bottoni they just bought? So when we're saying
Andreas Pereira from Man United for a bargain, and look at him this season.
So when we're saying we can't get much for that, I think we're confusing that with we've not done that in the past. Yeah. But we've got to hope that the director of football that is what they can bring. Jesus, right. It was Bob Spur that was done. Lots of questions. There's a video circling around. Go and find it. It was Bob Spur. I don't mind calling him out. I wouldn't, but he did steal £700 of my money. So I will call him out, Perchy.
Yeah. No, fair enough. You have a right to.
Yeah. Hang on. So David has said, Saka at Arsenal had a horrendous run of form in the last 10 games season. Don't take my word for it, Arsenal Gunner, but I don't see you to question Saka's ability. What I love about David Clark, he's always so controversial for no reason. If you look, listen, I can speak to Lee Gunner about this all day long, and I do speak to Lee Gunner on WhatsApp and on streams and stuff. But just because Lee Gunner said something doesn't mean it's always right. And I love you, Lee, if you're ever going to see this. But just because I say something doesn't make it always right. Yeah. Saka had a dip in form. But over the course of this year, he's had a very good season.
Yeah. Saka's been better than Kulusevski this season, so I don't get the argument here.
I'm so baffled when people come up with these silly arguments. Let's have a look at Bukayo Saka.
But just to flip it, by the way, if Bukayo Saka this season scored 2 goals in an Arsenal team this season, we'd all be calling him terrible as Spurs fans. So why can't it be the other way around?
So in the league this season, from 38 league games, he's got 25 goal contributions. And we're picking on his last 10 games. And in those last 10 games, he got 2, 3, still got 4 goals in his last 10 games.
Double the goals that Kulusevski has all season, by the way.
So, David, I think you need to, just because one person said it, listen, if Kulusevski got 4 goals in his last 10 and 25 goal contributions in the season, I'm not sitting here saying what I'm saying. For me, I'll take Bukayo Saka over Kulusevski every single day of the week. Much quicker, much more incisive, much more of a goal threat. I'm gonna bring this up as well, Perchi. I'm gonna go to our squad, okay? And when you look at Kulusevski, bear with me 1 second. When you look at Kulusevski, we talk about a goal threat, right? In Kulusevski's career, right? In his 2 seasons at Juventus, he got 4 in the first season, 1 in the second. Yeah. And in his first season at Spurs, he got 5, second season 2. Like these aren't good numbers. No. These aren't good numbers at all.
Especially the role that he plays, by the way.
Exactly. So this sort of comment, David, listen, you can, we're going to have this back and forth, but if you come at me, come up with me some facts. Can't just say, oh, he was terrible. I mean, the goal he scored the other night against Wolves was lovely, by the way, as well. Yeah. If anyone saw that, when he just cut inside and lots of comments in the chat. I won't be able to get to them, but I will try. Let's have a look. Robin Ater said, was surfing through various United channels. 90% of them made up stat. Are not excited about getting Kane. They prefer other younger prospects. Goldbridge said Kane has to show urgency now if he wants to join or jog on. Well, first of all, Mark Goldbridge doesn't make that decision. So big up Mark Goldbridge. What he's done wonderful with his channel, but he doesn't make that decision. Second of all, Robin, 90% is a completely made up stat.
How can you even judge that? There's how many Man United fans are worldwide, and we're just basically saying that one in 10 of them rates Harry Kane. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Do we truly believe that Man United do not want one of the best strikers in the world in their team?
30 league goals this season with that team.
We have very few match winners and very few players who can create goals out of nothing. Okay, but I'm not seeing him do that this year. Like, who else has said about this? Hot God has said, hold up, Kulu was once touted as one of the best wide players in his first season in the Prem. He's had an injury and his return has been poor, so why write him off? It's like, I just can't. We've seen him have 4 good months versus a terrible year. I'm not writing him off. I'm just saying I would rather the money went somewhere else. That's just me.
The thing is, this is the part of it that people need to understand. You have to judge it on what you see, and I think this is the part where people take your Tottenham hat off for a second, and imagine if that was. Let's bear in mind these are the same fans that sit there and laugh at the likes of Mudryk. By the way, let's be honest. Who's not like we can argue who's been a better or worse player, but we only basically judging Kulusevski because he's a Tottenham player. If it was another player from another club that had got 2 league goals in a season, we'd all be going, he's a flop. He's only scored 1 more goal than Richarlison, who's been touted as one of the worst transfers in the whole Premier League this season, by the way.
It just makes me laugh. Like, listen, I'm not writing him off. What I'm saying is, and to this we don't know the system exactly, David. So this is my point. You've made my point for me. You're looking to sign Kulu. Your terminology here, I'm looking to get rid of Kulu. Kulu isn't our player. I really wish people would understand that. There's nothing to get rid of. We have to buy him. So when you're saying I should wait to see what system before getting rid of him, shouldn't you wait until we see what manager comes in to see whether he fits the new manager system? I just feel like all common sense going out the window. Barry, Kulusevski seems to be the topic of conversation this morning. Where are you with Kulusevski?
Well, first up, morning, you two wonderful people. It said Savva and guests, but it was just Perchy. So now it is true. The title is true. There is guests.
Listen,
now,
people
obviously.
come and go, man. People come and go. Don't
I
be
know,
that.
but
Don't
look,
be that pedantic Barry that we all know you are.
Oh, no. Happy clapper, Barry. No.
Yeah.
Look, where am I? Look, I think there's been a number of things, right? There's been the whole three managers. There's been the injuries. Look, I'm not making excuses for him.
I agree.
But for when we look at, I guess, history with Levy looking at one for the future, 25 million for a 22-year-old is pretty cheap, right? We know he's from what he did the previous season when he came in, or half season. We know what he's capable of, but we're just in a mess, right? So I think, you're right. I think everything that's happened the last week or so since the season's finished, there's been some nonsense story or something. I'm getting bloody notifications about Mora's goal. I think I've got about 4 notifications from Spurs saying another angle of Mora's final goal. Look, it wasn't. It was great that he scored, but Leeds. Obviously, I was there. Leeds are an absolute shambles. So I think I could have run through that Leeds defence on Sunday.
Someone made the great comment. It was like the parting sea, basically. When he was
running. So look, where am I with Kulu? I think. Look, I think. Do we need to do? Should we sign him? Probably, yeah. But I'm not really at the moment. I'm kind of not really excited either way. We've got season ticket deadline day tomorrow. Season ticket deadline day tomorrow. So that's what the clubs should be focusing on. But I don't know.
And as I said, to round off, I want to move on from Kulu. I've not said he's a bad player, Barry. I've not said that at all. Right? I think he's got his skill set. But depending on what the new manager wants to do as a system should surely drive the decision on buying a player versus just buying him because fans have an emotional attachment. And look, I like Kulu, but he does play a certain way. And if I was a fullback playing against Kulu, if I was a decent left back, I think I'd know how to stop him. I'm not saying me. I mean, like if I'm a top left back in a Premier League team, you know what you're going to do to stop Kulusevski. And look, anyway, look, let's move on from that. We got some questions, guys. I want to go through some questions. I know, Perchy, do you need to jump?
I'll do one question and I'll jump off. So I've got a bit of work to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Emil, just quickly, by the way, listen, I'm not doubting that. That was a very good 4 months. But I'm a believer that if he could do that in his first 4 months, then why is the next 9-10 months been so poor? And I know we can all say, oh, well, no one's played well. But at what point does any player stand up and say, well, hang on, I'll show everyone how good I am. But hang on, here we go. Sorry, I love this guy. He said, you slag Spurs players not turning up when it matters. Do I? When does it matter? We haven't turned up all season. But Saka, who's their best player, failed to get them over the line. I mean, let's blame Arsenal not winning the title purely on Bukayo Saka, a 21-year-old. Well done, David. That's very mature of you. Paul, welcome to the chat. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, good day, man. How you going? Good, man. Hello, Barry. Hello, Perchy.
You all right, mate?
Exactly. Yellow Dean, a Man United fan. I mean, just quickly, before we go to some questions, Barry and Paul, and I know we don't want him to leave, and he's our best player for however long, Harry Kane, but can you see in any way, shape or form Man United truly deep down in their hearts, Man United fans going, we wouldn't want Harry Kane in this team?
Every Man United fan that I've spoken to wants Harry Kane.
Mad.
Look. If we're talking about, if we're all like going absolutely mental over Erling Haaland with his 36 Premier League goals, Harry Kane scored 30 goals in this Tottenham side.
If
it wasn't for Haaland this season, everyone would be absolutely waxing lyrical about Harry Kane. But they're not because, I mean, look, look, fair play if City go and win the FA Cup on Saturday, then go and win the Champions League and the treble. To me, it probably puts Man United's treble kind of a bit in the shade, right? But look, every Man United fan wants him. Everyone's been, they've been saying to me, please tell me he's coming. Do you know anything? We want him. He would go into any side in the world at any time that he wanted to. That's how mad it is.
It is. And please, sorry, just quickly, please smash the like buttons. There's only 60 likes and 260 of you in here. Smash the like button. Don't be tight. I have got a couple of super chats in the background. I will get to them. I've got some questions as well. Just one thing I would like to say as well. Lots of Man United fans are talking as though, I'm seeing them in the chat, talking as though they are accountants. It's like, oh, we'd love Kane, but not for 115 million. Let's be really honest. It's not your money, right? Yeah. It's really, really not your money. And for 150 million, you guarantee yourselves 90 to 100 goals over the next 3-4 seasons from Harry Kane. Why would you not want that?
And the thing is with Harry Kane, by the way, and this is what I say, this is one thing to the Man United fans in it. If the takeover happens and the Qataris take over at Man United, if we don't know if it's going to happen or not, what a statement that will be, coming in straight away and then go, do you know what? What's the price for Harry Kane? 150 million. We'll put that money on the table right now. And we'll put him in a Man United shirt at a click of a finger.
Yeah, let's be honest. Percy, don't forget they wasted 90 million on Anthony, yeah? So they're talking about, we don't want to spend 150. So you'd rather spend 90 million on someone that's been an absolute shit show. I mean, Richarlison, I'll put Richarlison in that bracket as well. 60 million for him, 90 million. That's 150 million of money on two players. You get more from Harry Kane paying less. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But here's the question though, because from what I've seen, and I take a lot of things. I take things with a pinch of salt. But for me, I'm seeing with all the reports from with Benzema leaving Real Madrid and the links of Kane to Real Madrid. Well, I actually saw the links of Kane and Richarlison, by the way. Which if they want Richarlison. If they want Richarlison, then they can take Richarlison for all I care. But Harry Kane and Real Madrid, and I put this out there on my stream yesterday and about Harry Kane and Real Madrid. I said, and everyone went, no, he wants to stay in the Premier League. I went, you're telling me if Real Madrid tomorrow phoned his agent and went, by the way, we want Harry, what's the chance of getting him? Our Spurs we think they'll probably accept anything between 80 to 120 million quid. So what? Okay, cool. We'll get onto that. You're telling me that Harry Kane will go, nah, I'm not going Real Madrid. One of the most successful teams in the world.
The biggest club in world football.
The best team in the world. And I'm sorry. I think at the moment, personally, I think with the Real Madrid stuff, I think that is us probably actually trying to sell him to Real Madrid more than anything. I think Daniel Levy will do anything out of his skin to get him to go to Real Madrid before Man United come knocking, because I think Man United will do. And I think we're trying to get that done. And that was kind of what I wanted to sort of leave it on, because I've got to shoot. But Kane and Real Madrid, does anyone else see that coming?
Could do, but I reckon the Man United fans are just covering their own backsides. If we don't sell Kane, or if Kane doesn't want to leave, they can just say, "Oh, we didn't want him anyway. He's not won any trophies."
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me laugh. Listen, and as everyone can see, I'm very critical of Spurs players, right? So I'm not sitting out here going, "Oh my God, Spurs players are great." But when the chance to sign Harry Kane comes, Man United don't turn it down. No offense, you guys have got Wout Weghorst up front at the moment. Right? Yeah. Now imagine has Barry frozen? No, you look like you're frozen. That was very still. Look, I want to get to some questions. I like it when people ask questions. There's a lot of people in the chat at the moment. Please smash the like button. Please, any super chats you want to put in, 50% does go to the British Heart Foundation. And it actually does go to the British Heart Foundation, all right? I don't know, Barry or Paul, I don't know if you've seen, I've actually put a post out on YouTube with pictures confirming that the money I raised before did actually go to the British Heart Foundation, just because of certain things that have happened in the community. Let's have a look. So Garage Classics says, Savva, you was loving Anthony. You said it was ambition. You went early on him so you could poo-poo on Spurs. Big up. I like Anthony. I think Anthony's a very good footballer that has just had a year to settle. And yeah, I don't know your point on this. I don't get the point.
I'm going to jump off, but I just want to sound that if we'd signed Anthony for £90 million, guys, we'd be going over the top about him. So I've got to remember that this is the bit I really find funny with fans is the second they come to us, they're amazing. I'm seeing people telling me that. So the irony is we talk about Anthony now being a flop, but then I've seen Spurs fans in the last couple of days saying, "Oh, we need to give Richarlison some time. He needs to settle." Yeah.
Yeah,
but
it just makes
anyway,
jump off, Perchik. We're going to answer some questions this end. We're going to answer some questions. I mean, Cole, listen, I agree with you on this one. I think if Man United and Real Madrid are on the table, I think you got to go Real Madrid. It's the pinnacle of anyone's career, right? But hey, it is what it is. Look, let's get some questions, guys. We've had loads of questions. Before I do anything, big up to Jonas, who's just become a YouTube member. Big up to yourself, Jonas. Thank you very much for that. Always a good contributor in here. And Mark Cousins, thank you very much. Mark has said, here's the trust. I think he's talking about when I was saying earlier that I'm not Bob Spur. Only £2 though. No, Mark, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. And so sorry that your hero has gone to Chelsea. Just saying. So sorry. He's so upset about it. Here's some questions. Okay, let's start with this, guys. The first one was, who do we want as director of football? Obviously, we had this question yesterday. Paul, me and you went through this yesterday. Barry, is there anyone for you that stands out? Is there anyone that you think, yeah, that's the right mould for what Tottenham need?
I don't think there's like with what we've seen with the manager. I don't think anyone wants to come. So I don't think we see. I don't even think we do even want another director of football. There's bloody rumours Paratici's working undercover. Maybe Paratici and Bob Spur are working together. I don't know.
Oh wow, wow.
But look, who knows, man? I'm not really that fussed, if I'm honest. It's potato at the moment with the football club. There's more. Look, Nagelsmann was wanting to come and then he stepped away, or we didn't talk to him, or whatever the nonsense is. It's just a circus. So it doesn't really matter to me whether we have one, we don't have one, because when we've had one, we've signed crap players. When we haven't had one, we've signed crap players. So it doesn't really make a difference.
I mean, I don't know about you guys. I'd really love someone like a Rangnick. And I know lots of people will associate Rangnick with his stint as manager of an awful Man United side. But if anyone did their homework and did some digging, as a director of football, he's sensational. And the players that he managed to recruit whilst working in Germany, the list of names Henry brought up on his show the other day that are all global superstars now playing for the top clubs in Europe that all cost under 15 million at the time, was just absolutely amazing. So for me, I'd like someone like that. Just, Paul Mitchell, obviously everyone talks about that. That's never going to happen. The guys at Brighton you'd love, but we just need something forward thinking, something a bit different, right, than someone who comes in and just buys from their old club. But Paul, I'll come to you on this next question. Where are we? Here we go. This is on the same but slightly different. And I know I'll come to you to this because I know obviously you don't think we do. So, Steve, why are people so wrapped up in getting a director of football first? A good director of football will work to any manager's strengths. We need a manager ASAP. Paul, you've got a different opinion on director of footballs, haven't you?
Yeah, I think Steve is bang on it. I think if you've got the right manager in, the gaffer is the gaffer, and the director of football just becomes his admin assistant.
So you think that? Do you think the Spurs need one at all, though, or
no? If you've got the right
director
manager,
of football.
No, you're still just managing a squad of 25 players, buying and selling. Why do you need this extra layer of guff in between the manager and the owner? I don't understand it. It's something that happened in the late 80s, early 90s, and I was scratching my head back then. And a lot of the managers where it happened to their football clubs. They were, what? I think as soon as you've got this director of football is a powerful figure, then you can have conflict between the manager and director of football. who's in charge of the club, and it always every time, if you want prolonged success, it has to be the manager.
So can I ask then on that front, and before I bring you in, Barry, are there any successful clubs at the moment, Paul, that have a model which doesn't involve a director of football?
Well, I did Google it the other day, and there were two, and they were two big successful clubs, but I can't remember who they were now.
Because I just feel like,
but I think that's just because it's become the corporate orthodox, because there's so much money in the game. I don't think that's the right way of doing it. There's a lot in football that money has ruined, and I just think this extra layer of executives is one of the things that is knackering the game. It's not necessary.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, Barry, let me bring you in on this. What's your take on this? Because I'm on the fence with this one. I kind of agree with Paul because I like the old school way of working, etc. But when I look at how football has developed and the amount of staff at the club, the amount of signings that happen now compared to years gone by, the bigger squads, everything, is it too much just for a manager to manage the team, coach the team, buy the players, scout the players? Isn't that a bit too much for one man?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a lot of, in this day and age, obviously there's a lot more data that they would have used than sort of 20 years ago. But I think football comes around in kind of circles, right? We saw, I saw a thing the other day, even 4-4-2. Is 4-4-2 coming back? It goes in cycles. You have with the formations, you've got the 4-4-2, then the 3-5-2 and 3-4-3. I mean, we can't play any of them, so it doesn't really matter what formation that we go with. But look, I think there's a lot to do. Is it necessarily essential? I mean, I just typed it in, Paul, when you were saying about it. There's no directors of football at Burnley, Palace, Hull, Man United, Middlesbrough, Tottenham, or West Ham. So
it was Man United. Maybe that was the one that caught. It wasn't. It wasn't some of the others on that list.
It wasn't Crystal Palace, Burnley, or Hull, right, or West Ham.
Well, look, but Ange Postecoglou at Celtic has signed 29 players over the last couple of years. He didn't need anyone holding his hand.
Mm. Yeah, see, again, just a lot of people in the chat are actually saying, like Leon, I'll come back to that, Kuva. Leon has said the sporting director's job is to protect the long-term strategy and system. He signs managers and players that fit the system rather than changing everything with a new manager. And then Kuva has come in and...
They don't stay around long enough at Spurs, though, do they? So what's the point?
Yeah, but surely this is the point, Paul, that just because we've been run badly in the past doesn't mean that we shouldn't implement something for the future, right? Now, the person whose first comment, I think it was Steve, big up Steve D, who said, everyone's saying we need a director of football, but surely we need a manager first. For me, I think the problem is at most football clubs, the directors of football stay for years and years and years and years. They are the ones that drive the direction and the strategy of the club, and they shape and mold it. If you bring in a manager first, then a director of football, you could limit who you bring in as a director of football, because they could say, I would be director of football, but that's not the manager I would work with. So I feel that there's swings and roundabouts to it all. I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong, but when I look at all the super successful clubs, they've got this in place, right? The super successful football clubs all have this model in place, and it's only at Tottenham where it doesn't seem to, seem to work.
We're going to be super successful then, because we're going to have a chief football officer and a director of football and a manager. So that's like more layers of goodness.
Yeah, I get it. Unfortunately, I think that's the way football's going. I mean, Paul, look, from when you started watching games and when I did and when Barry did, you look at the substitute bench, right? I remember growing up, there was maybe I think there was like 3 subs or whatever when I first started watching football. A guy with a bucket and a sponge, the assistant manager and the manager. Now you look at the bench, there's like 20 backroom staff. And when I was watching the Man City when they won the league and they all came on the pitch and they were doing their parade at the end, the backroom staff was just unbelievable. The numbers was bigger than the squad. And I don't like it, but I feel like that's the way football's gone, Paul.
Yeah. Well,
I don't like it.
I still think the manager should call the shots. And if you're going to have a football director, then they do the stuff that the manager just fobs off onto them.
So do you think then at Man City, for example, do we think Pep Guardiola calls the shots, or do you think it works in conjunction with Tiggy Bickenstein or whatever his name is? I can never pronounce that name. How do you pronounce a name with an X in the middle of it? It's got an X in the middle of it, Barry. How do you pronounce it?
I know. Yeah, I don't know. But look, I think the difference there is that there's a plan. The difference there is there's a strategy, and everyone's singing off the same song sheet. It's not just about what's going on the pitch. There's that, there's everything going around it. Obviously, in terms of everything that's going around the Etihad, you've got the women's stadium, you've got the arena, you've got everything kind of going on. I mean, Levy must love it when he goes up to the Etihad. He's like, oh my God, everything is all in one place. This is incredible. But they've got a plan, and everyone's in that plan. Obviously, we've seen a little bit of some of the stuff maybe is kept from Pep when he's talking about all these charges or whatever needs to get sorted out and everything else. But there's that togetherness, and we don't have that. We don't have a plan. No one knows the plan from the academy is to create Champions League players. I mean, that for me is not. There was when I went there was no discussion about winning trophies. It was just about creating Champions League players, and talking about Harry Winks and Oliver Skipp and obviously Harry Kane. But to talk about it, to talk about that is a joke, really.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly moving away from the director of football stuff. Everybody asking in the chat about Bob Spur. Listen, it's not my place to say. It's not. If anyone else wants to say, they can. I'm not going to, but it is out there if you want to go and have a look. The only reason it came up today was I wanted to assure people that when I do charity streams, because Rez's video, whilst it was absolutely spot on, coincided with 48 hours before my charity stream, which was like, oh, bloody hell. But listen, it was more important to get the word out there. So if you do want to know about that, just go and do some Googling on the YouTube. Just go and do some searching on YouTube or whatever. And we're not going to talk about that again on here. If anyone in the chat wants to tell you, they can. Guys, this will excite you, Paul. I know you're a very excitable chap with a wonderful beard. I don't know what that's going to do with anything.
I've got my camera off because I'm in bed and I don't want to sort of go all OnlyFans on you.
Oh, lovely! This is like one. This is like one step away from phone sex, but on a YouTube channel. No, this is wonderful, Paul. And now everyone's got that image in their head. On a serious note,
you left me last night with an image of Alex greased up on a beach.
I'm really inappropriate, Paul. Listen, lots of noises coming out today. Lots of ages coming out today that Dan Kilpatrick is saying that Ange Postecoglou is now the outright favourite for the Tottenham job, and we could be looking to sign him after Celtic have got a cup final on Saturday, and lots of reports saying that he could be the manager in situ at White Hart Lane. It will always be White Hart Lane by Monday. Lots of people are not going to take this news well, Paul, are they? And some people will.
Well, I know how Nick feels about standing up for Emerson all year and swimming against the tide, but he came good. And look, this is exactly what happened when he moved to Celtic. Yeah. A lot of scepticism. And look, just to give you an idea, Celtic at that stage had not hired a manager in over 100 days. The fans were divided. The board was on the nose. It was a club in disarray.
Yeah.
And within a year, one man, Ange Postecoglou, got it all sorted. They're winning. Yeah. They're successful. He's united the fans. The fans feel connected to the club again. That's something I'm looking forward to if Ange comes, because he's that kind of guy. He really is. He's been my guy since day one, and I will be just ecstatic if he comes in the door, and everyone else will be before long as well. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's an interesting one. I did a video earlier this week, Barry, talking about how I feel like the expectation of the Spurs fans, whilst it's good to have this kind of this real high expectation, I feel like we've actually, as a club, floated away from that as a reality. I probably didn't say that very well, but you know what I mean. Yeah. And I don't see that Postecoglou would be a terrible fit. I feel like when I see him interviewed, he comes across as a really stand-up guy, quite forthright, tells it as it is. The noises that come out of Celtic are that the players really like playing for him. They like his style of play. Is there anything to say that he couldn't do that with no disrespect to Celtic, who will tell me that they've won way more than Spurs, but in respect, could he do it on a bigger stage in the Premier League?
Look, there's nothing to say that he couldn't, right? And I get what, you know, I get what Paul's saying. Obviously, Paul has been on the bandwagon, and everyone's been like I was with Emerson, right? So I'm with Paul here. I know how excited Paul's going to get if that, you know, if it comes to fruition. Look, I don't think we have any right to say who we want, who we don't want. We're kind of in a position. Look, we're kind of I guess in a similar position before when Poch was appointed, right? Poch wasn't, let's just say, that well known, that well respected, that well, right, you know, ingrained in the Premier League. But he brought a brand of football that obviously that's what he did. So look, let's not get carried away. He didn't win anything. It's you know, all those people that are singing his name when Conte was in the stadium, you know, absolutely embarrassing. So look, there's I just think that we just need to go back to basics. And if that's what we're going to do, we're going to get him in. He's going to have time. And, you know, I think the biggest thing would be to engage the fans. If he just did that, that would be a massive thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think the nail on the head that you've hit there is everybody's favorite manager from the last 10 years or whatever, last 15, last 20 years. Some people tell me he's the best we've ever had because they're 12, but it's Pochettino. And you hit the nail on the head. Poch was on no one's lips, was he? When he was at Southampton, I don't remember anyone at the time going, that's my number one choice. Go and get me Poch. And it's kind of similar now with an Ange Postecoglou. Now, I'm not sitting here going, oh, he's my number one choice. But I've said all along, and Paul, I'm sure look, we've had this conversation in the last few days, I've got no issue with Ange Postecoglou coming to manage Spurs, because whoever comes in has got an absolute mountain of shit to sort out. Whoever comes in. And I think we get confused. These top managers don't sort out shit. Right? Do they? If you think about it, when Pep Guardiola goes to a club, when Conte normally goes to a club, when Jose goes to a club, when Ancelotti, when they go to clubs, they go to big clubs, right? And we've seen what happened when Jose came to Spurs with the shit. Ancelotti went to Everton with all that shit. That's not what they do. That's not their forte. Their forte is getting the best out of a group of players that might be underperforming, but that are quality. And they sprinkle it and they win. So for me, I've got no issue at all with Postecoglou being the manager of this club. But Barry, are they going to give him a chance? Like if he signs, are we going to have this divisive, you know, almost wanting him out from day one before he's even got to the training ground type vibe?
You already know the answer to that. You already know the answer to that. Of course we will. You know, a few weeks, even at Leeds on Sunday. First of all, big up to Bill. I know he put a comment in. I met Bill on Sunday at Ellen Road. It was surreal. It was really weird, right? So I'm on the phone to Daigle, and next thing I get a tap on my shoulder. It's like, oh, Barry, and I'm like, hello, oh, Bill, oh, Brian. I sent you a message on Twitter. I was like, this is the most surreal experience ever. Anyway, look, you already know what it's going to be like. We have fans that wanted Poch back. We had fans that wanted Conte out. We had fans that want Levy out. You want people that want Levy in. You want people that want Kane to stay. You want people. The whole thing, like you said, is a mess. And I just fear that, you know, patience and time is something that Tottenham fans aren't very, you know, good with, right?
That's exactly the sort of job that Ange craves. He loves going to clubs in disarray and fixing it up and building something. That's what he's done through his career. So I think he'll do his talking on the pitch, and there might be some of that stuff you're talking about at the beginning, but I think fairly quickly people will come on board. Because he's that kind of guy.
Paul, I'm gonna show you with evidence of exactly what I was talking about. Let's go through a selection of the comments from people, right? Here we go. First of all, please don't compare that league to Premier League. Gerrard done invincible there, didn't he? First of all, Jimmy, I didn't compare that league to here. I actually said, could he do it on a bigger scale? That's why we have two of these, right? I said, could he do it on a bigger scale? Second of all, just because Gerrard did a bad job here doesn't mean that everyone that's managed in Scotland did a bad job here. Sir Alex Ferguson, I'm not sure if you've heard of him, managed in Scotland, and he was okay. I think he had an average CV in the Premier League at one point. Yeah, we can't just say because someone's managed there that they're going to be crap here because Steven Gerrard was. Ange Postecoglou is an experienced manager. Steven Gerrard wasn't. Paddy has said, with respect, he's managing in a poor league with one team. I hate to break it to you, but isn't the Premier League becoming a league with one team as well? With Man City winning every single season? Isn't the German league Bayern Munich only? Isn't France PSG only? The only league I can think of that is competitive, people are going to hate me saying this, the only top league I can think of that is competitive is the Italian league, where they've had 3 different winners of the title in the last 3 years.
Yep.
And this whole one team league thing, I don't know if anyone's noticed what Man City have been doing the last 6-7 years. It's the same here. Rob's just said Ange ain't for me. That can only be surely because he's Celtic, right? It can't be from his. It's good to be an optimist, but also a realist. Where else? Ange has done well at Celtic, but I think he suits West Ham or Wolves more. Again, I think here, guys, I'll bring you guys back in here. I think here that, again, this is delusion of grandeur. I don't think Spurs are this great club that people think we are at the moment. I don't see why we're above someone like Ange Postecoglou. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Because I was following Ange when he joined Celtic, and I saw all of these comments coming from the Celtic fan channels. They were, not so much the presenters of the channels, but the comments were like this, who's this guy? He's rubbish. He's only managed in Japan and Australia. And they all came on board. So, and I don't blame people for being a bit sceptical. What I would say, though, is I do watch a bit of Scottish football since Ange especially went to Celtic. And for people to say it's a Mickey Mouse league and it's not competitive, I don't think they've actually watched it. I think there's a bit of, dare I say, English snobbery going on there, because it is a very hard-fought league. Celtic and Rangers, whenever they go around the country, these teams are trying to kick 7 bells out of them. So you have to, and if you're not on it, you ain't going to win the league. The other team will. So, I've seen it all, and I'm fine for people to say what they say. And then in a year's time, when we're lifting trophies, and in 2 years' time, when we're Premier League champions, everyone will look back and say, God, I can't believe I didn't think Ange was the man for the job.
But if not Barry, I mean, we're saying, I say we. A lot of fans are saying they don't want someone like Postecoglou. They want better. They're turning their nose up at Potter. They're turning their nose up at Brendan Rodgers. Nagelsmann has rejected us, apparently. Slot is not available. Luis Enrique's in talks with Napoli. Who is it that the Spurs fans want? I'm so confused that no one can give me a name. Like, who is it we want? We turn our noses up at everyone, like we do with players. Like last summer, if you remember, people going, Nathan Ake, rubbish player. Dunk, wouldn't have him. All these players that have had great seasons, but we turn our nose up. Who should be manager if not this guy?
That's the thing, Savva. You're absolutely right. I think we've got this. We think we've got this divine right to just turn our noses up and look at where we are. We, like you said, it's an absolute mess. We don't have any right to turn down any players, to turn down any manager. No. But we think we've got that divine right to go. But they don't. Nobody comes up with a solution, like you said. Out of who's available, What are you going to do? Are you going to come with what? A Sam Allardyce next? You're going to come up with a Neil Warnock? You're going to come up with a,
Here was the list. Now, this was last week, so it's changed, right? You look at it, you got Postecoglou as the favourite. Fans don't want him. Brendan Rodgers, second favourite. Fans don't want him. Julian, I got to tell off for Julian. Julian Nagelsmann apparently rejected us. I can see why. Luis Enrique's in talks with Napoli. No one wants Graham Potter. Ruud van Nistelrooy has only been a manager for 1 year, so fans won't want him as well. Like, where is the manager? Like, who is it that we are bringing in? Like, I don't get what these fans think we're getting. We've had Conte, we've had Jose, we've had Potts, we've had Redknapp, we've had Yol, we've had all of these managers. I need somebody to give me some proper names. Everybody in the chat right now, give me the name you want of a realistic manager. Yeah. Don't say Pep Guardiola, not happening. Who do we want?
Tom's bang on with his comment here. He's a humble guy when it comes down to it. When he joined Celtic, and he was in, they have as well as the press conferences, they have like a press conference for fan channels. And he just sat there and he said, look, it's a big club and I'm humbled to be here. He's not going to be like a Conte who thinks he's doing us a favour.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd love to. I'm just going to see if we've got any names. Sorry, there's a lot of comments in the chat. A lot of. So we are getting here. So somebody said Michael Carrick will be next on the bookies odds. Yeah, I don't doubt it. He'll enter there soon as a few others drop off. Someone said Ange. Someone said when Poster struggles. And he will at some point, things will become toxic. Yeah, but doesn't that mean that we need to be patient, Aussie 12? Doesn't that mean that, if Ange Postecoglou comes in, don't we need to realign our expectations of what we expect from him in year one? I don't expect fourth. I don't even expect Europe next year. I don't expect European qualification. I expect a man to get rid of Deadwood, bring in his own players and start forming the basis of a team. If I'm really honest, is that too simplistic, guys? Like, am I underselling what Spurs should be doing next year?
No, you're absolutely right, Savva. It's not just that there needs to be an absolute. It's got to be a clear out, and it's we've spoken about rebuilds and everything else over the last however many years. But look, you've got not only have you got players that come into that are up with their contracts. You've got the players coming back from loan. You've got so many questions and we've got no answers that actually maybe if Postecoglou wants to come, maybe we should be going, do you know what? The mess that we're in right now, the manager wants to come to us. We should be grateful that someone wants to come to us, not be sitting there and going, I don't want this manager. I don't want these players. I think there's 25. I think it's a list of 25 players that there's question marks, either contracts, loan, or not good enough. So we're not going to go out and buy 25 players, are we? So it's.
I see his age as a positive because years ago in Australia, the only English game you'd get was the FA Cup final, and he's old enough that when he was like a teenager, he would have seen Ricky Villiers scoring a goal and Steve Perryman lifting the cup twice. So he knows what Spurs can be. You get a young manager, and why would you go to Spurs? But he knows. He already would know all about Tottenham. His football knowledge about every club, every player in the world, it's second to none. They tried tripping him up in Scotland when he first joined, asking him tricky football questions, and he would just nail the journalist and then give them far more detail about a match in 1978 and then just embarrass them.
Yeah, I mean, one of the key things, and big up, Danny, I'll bring you in a second. One of the key things for me is looking through the names that are being touted about. I feel like I don't know if the word is namist or I don't know the word I'm looking for. It's almost like if you're not popular, you're not wanted. So, for example, I'm looking at names like Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim, who's just finished fourth in the Portuguese league. Now, quite some way off the top as well. So is he the guy we want? Is Ruben Amorim the guy? You've got Gallardo. Let's make it make sense. I don't mind Gallardo, but Gallardo's only ever managed in Argentina. He's never managed in Europe or in a top league, has he? But why, Danny, why are we happy for those type of managers to be linked Is it because they've got sexy names and they're in sexy countries as opposed to Postecoglou, who's in Celtic and is Australian? I don't know.
It's because people don't watch those leagues or don't watch those managers. Essentially, like let's be real, right? How many people probably in this chat actually watch Portuguese football? Like, let's be honest, right? Right. So they will see Almiron in the Champions League and be like, "Oh, I like him. I like his football." That's where they see it. So a couple of games in Champions League, and they'll be like, "That's the guy I want." Right? If we actually look at the reality of things, Almiron, right? We didn't get Arne Slot because we didn't want to pay the supposedly 10, 15 million pounds to bring him and a couple of his backroom staff with him to Spurs, right? Now, Almiron's got a release clause in his contract of 30 million euros. If we're not even going to pay 15 million, why on earth is Daniel Levy going to pay 30 million for Almiron? So it's not going to happen. So we have to forget Almiron and say, you could probably say similar things for Nagelsmann, because let's be honest, Nagelsmann is still on garden leave. He's still being paid by Bayern Munich right now.
Yep.
So we will have to pay a hefty fee to get him out, right? And even if we did want him, we would still have to get a director of football that really fits his philosophy. So I don't know if that's in the club's ethos of what they want to do. And we have to look at it in terms of where we are as a club. It's kind of what you've been banging on, Sav, a lot of the time recently, is that fans need to understand we're not as attractive or as big as people think we are. So for me, I look at it like this now. I look at it like, who is the options we have out there? Graham Potter, Brendan Rodgers, Ryan Mason, and Postecoglou, right? Out of those names, the one who attracts me more than anyone is Postecoglou. Because after speaking to Paul, I actually did a lot of research on him and his style of play. I watched some highlights and things of him and how his tactics are. And I genuinely think the way he manages, the way Tottenham probably want someone in as a manager, I think he ticks a lot of the boxes. The only thing he doesn't tick is the age, because they said they wanted someone young. But apart from that, it's not
like he's Roy Hodgson's age, is it?
No,
it's not. No,
it's not.
He's not about to cash in his retirement check, is he? Exactly. Listen, I want a young progressive manager. I do, but look, fans can't have it all ways, right? Like when I was sitting on here months and months ago, and Barry, and Danny, you streamed with me a lot. I was saying, look, sod it. I was saying, sod it. Get Carrick in and let him build a team. Yeah. Oh, no, not Carrick. He's got no experience. Sod it. Get Vincent Kompany in. Let him build a team. Oh, no. He's only had 1 year in a championship. Okay. Now all these other managers have rejected us. Ange Postecoglou comes in and people go, oh, no, he might be a bit too old. And it's like, hang on.
Exactly.
We don't want experienced winners because we know it doesn't work. We don't want young managers because they've got no experience. We don't want Rodgers and Potter, who do have experience, because they've just had bad spells. We don't want Postecoglou because of the league he's coming from. I just don't know who we want.
Yeah.
I don't know this magical name.
I'm glad you did that. Had a look at that, because that's what I was going to suggest to people. What Danny's done is, don't take my word for it. Go after Sav has finished the stream, of course. Search on YouTube, Ange Postecoglou Team Talks, Ange Postecoglou fans, and you'll get to see what the guy does. You'll get to see how at one the fans are with him. And if that doesn't turn you on, then you wait. It'll happen to you.
And also the thing is as well, you have to, like, the one thing I think what this club is crying out for, right, is someone that unites the whole fan base, unites the board, unites the staff, everyone. And I actually think Ange could do a good job in that. And like Paul was saying, if they don't decide to go with a director of football, then they have to. If they hire someone like Ange, they have to let him do his job, and they have to listen to him, because, like, I actually did some research on it. Did you know this, Savva, that I don't know if you know this actually, but Brighton actually they actually interviewed Ange, right, for the job for Brighton, right, before De Zerbi came in, and they chose De Zerbi in the end. And the reason why they went with Ange was because he fits a lot of the philosophies that Brighton look for in a coach, right? Someone who knows how to scout players, who's very good with attacking football. He's a very, very good man management, Kind of like how Poch was when he came to Spurs. He puts his arm around everyone, and he just gets everyone to believe in what he believes is the right way to take the club forward, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what we need at this club right now. And I think out of those names that we just mentioned, that the realistic ones, not the Nagelsmanns, not the Amarons, like the Ange Postecoglou, your Brendan Rodgers, Ryan Mason, and Potter, I actually think he's the best shout because he is an unknown quantity, right, at the moment. And I think it's a great place for him to try and test his style, his management, his philosophy in a club where really it's kind of a free hit at the moment because we're not really expected to win trophies, are we? So we need to build completely a whole new structure at this club.
We're not. And just quickly, Barry, you need to jump, do you?
Yeah. I just need to jump, guys. Big up, everybody. Danny, I'll call you later.
Right.
He probably won't answer anyway. But big up.
Don't call me if he doesn't answer. I won't pick up either.
No. Exactly, Savva. You say you're going to call someone, but you're all getting into like the Danny Kiriakou of calling people back. I'll call you back 5 days later, a week later. Still not. Yeah,
I've got a T-shirt with Danny's face, and it just says "Be more Danny." That's all it is. Just a bum. Just says "Be more Danny."
I'm sure, Savva. Look, I'm sure you'll be doing another 58 streams today.
Only 2 more today. Only 2 more.
Oh, okay. 2 more.
So,
all right, big up.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
No worries. Cheers, guys. Big up, Paul.
Cheers, guys.
I heard that Postecoglou turned down the Brighton job. I don't know if that's true or not, but why would you go from a people forget? I mean, Celtic is a massive, massive club. Why would you go from that to Brighton? I could see you going from that to Spurs with its potential. You know, there's something to be had there. You know, Celtic are good. They've got European champions. They were in a UEFA Cup final. You know, in living memory, they've done more than we've done. So, you know,
I like Ange more and more at the moment.
Just before we come back to this, I need to get through some super chats. I'm only going to go for another 10 minutes, guys. So don't worry, it's not going to go on and on. Bill Bob, who's been spamming the chat talking about Brentford, but thank you, Bill Bob. Really, really appreciate that. Strasbourg Steve, always a big supporter, has said, I like Rangers, but I have to admit, Postecoglou is doing fantastic at Celtic. Yep. Phil P, as always, said,
his net spend is less than Rangers as well. He's a very good recruiter. Yeah, and he likes to cheer out.
I'm going to talk about that in 1 second. And Phil Pierce said, rank the following. I'm not going to read this out, Phil. I'm not reading that out. I love you anyway. Save your money and you can buy me a Nando's instead. Me, Henry and Phil go for Nando's every now and then. It's all good fun. One thing I would say as well is I get it, right, that Ange Postecoglou has not got experience in a massive European league. I get it. But the fundamentals of football management don't change. The fundamentals are he is expected to win at Celtic. So that's the huge pressure. Whether they're a 1-team, 2-team league or not, doesn't matter because the Premier League is shaping up to be that way with Man City anyway. But the fundamentals of how you talk to players, the fundamentals of putting a strategy and an ethos and style of play in place remains the same. You know, I feel like we're being really harsh on this guy here. I truly do. And look, I want Nagelsmann like other people want Nagelsmann. But if it ain't going to happen, it ain't going to happen. And for me, get Postecoglou in after this cup final, get him in next Monday and get him working immediately. And I'm sure he'll work relentlessly to try and work it out. But the last thing I'd say, guys, is back to Danny's point, what are fans going to judge him against next year? What is the metric we're judging Postecoglou against if he gets the job? That's it for me. You know what I mean? Is it, I personally just want to see us build a team. I don't care about finishing in Europe next year. I don't care about winning a trophy next year. Just build a team. Let's build. I think a lot of fans, the moment they get a couple of defeats, will be, see, his philosophy doesn't work. He can't handle it in the Premier League. Even though Conte, a manager who's won things everywhere he's been, lost games as well. Jose lost games. Can they not handle the Premier League? So, yeah, sorry.
Look at Alex Ferguson's first couple of seasons in England. It was awful. They were going to get 4-0. Yeah, they were going to get rid of him, weren't they? Until they started getting everything recruit and bringing through the academy, and then it all completely changed. I think you have to look at, for me, what I'm looking at right now is because we know nothing's going to change at the board level, and until they change or until they leave, which I don't think is going to happen very soon, anytime soon, we have to kind of hope that we can get a manager who can bring in the right style of football and philosophy, and just right, kind of like where, because for me, Pochettino was he overachieved at Spurs, right? And
your mic's gone, Danny. Danny, your mic's gone. You sound like a Dalek.
One sec.
Was that just me, or did you hear that, Paul?
Yeah, I heard it. I thought it was my phone, but
yeah. Paul, while he's sorting that, I'll come to you. Robin has said Pochettino can't start his work at Chelsea until 1st of July. I can assure you that Pochettino is working behind the scenes with the Chelsea board, talking about, for Romano's already said it, that Poch is in touch with them, saying that he wants Ugarte, doesn't want Felix, doesn't want that player. Let's not be fooled by the start date on that one.
I think there's reports of a lorry carrying a load of lemons into Chelsea, so I think he's working.
Oh, Paul, you are funny. You are funny.
He's going to get relegated. Chelsea are going down back to the bang average outfit they always were.
But the funny thing, and I'm going to go for another 5 minutes. The funny thing is, though, is when I asked just now. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, when I asked just now about the managers, I literally got two names. I literally got Nagelsmann or Amorim. That was it. And
it's because that's what the fans want, but they're not looking at what's realistic in the world of Daniel Levy and Tottenham Hotspurs, right? We're not going to get Amorim. People need to understand, if they don't know already, you need to get to know, as Alex would say. You need to understand. You need to understand that his contract his clause is 30 million euros. We are not paying 30 million euros to get a manager out of a club. It's not happening. So forget Amorim. Right, and Nagelsmann, it's only going to work if we get the right director of football, and there is still a chance of getting Nagelsmann. It could be that similar sort of situation where everyone turns us down. Ange turns us down as well, for example. Imagine if he turns us down as well, right? And then what happened? Daniel Levy's left in the point where do I go and get a director of football for Nagelsmann and then just get him in just so that we can appease the fan base again, or do we go for Brendan Rodgers or Ryan Mason? Because that's the only options we're going to have after that, really. So for me, I just think with someone like Ange, I think you can get him at a good price. I don't think it's going to cost extreme amounts of money to bring him in. And I think his philosophy and the way his management style is and the way his tactics are, I think he's exactly what Tottenham are looking for, to be honest with you. And I think, why not take a punt on him? I mean, I look at it as, would I rather him, Ryan Mason, or Brendan Rodgers? I'd rather him every single day of the week. And that's how I see it.
Absolutely. And I think the last thing we'll say on Ange, and this has turned into a kind of Ange Postecoglou stream towards the end, and big up to the whole 298 people that are in here at 11 o'clock in the morning. Please smash the likes, only 104 likes so far. And please join me at 4 p.m. as I'll be going through the daily transfer show. By the way, that isn't a Spurs show, but it was really good yesterday because we were talking about all different players and they're players that Romano or Ornstein are talking about moving on. It's not me making up rumours for the sake of it. So join me at 4 o'clock for that. The one thing I would say as well, for me, Paul, I don't know if you agree with me, but if he comes in, sod it. Whoever comes in next year, for me, has a free hit in year one. And I think I would urge fans to have that same mindset that year one is, let's clear out, start seeing a philosophy that we can mould. Because even Pep in his first year took a year to get that Man City team playing how he wants them to play. So free hit in year one?
Yeah, I mean, what you're sort of looking for is, I mean, when you see the same team play week in, week out, you can see when things are happening. You can see when things are being tried, and that's the important thing. The results might not come straight away, but you can see that. You can see where we're heading, and I think that's the important thing. How long it takes to get there, who knows? But when you start, I mean, it's going to be drastically better from day one than the 5-man at the back rubbish we've been watching for the last, few years. It's going to be exciting from the get-go. But maybe that means we'll lose a few matches. That's what it. And I'm like you, Savva. I don't really care where we finish in the league next year, really. And I think people, when they're talking about the Premier League being competitive, I think that's like a top 4 mindset. I'm not interested in top 4. I want to win the Premiership. That's it. I don't care where we. If you finish second, you might as well finish 15th. I don't care.
Danny, round the show off for us, Danny. What do you think? Are you bothered about where we finish next year?
Not at all. Like, I was listening to, I think it might be in you, Savva. I can't remember if it was yesterday or not. About it, I think it was actually. You're discussing about where we used to be. Someone on your show or Henry's show said something like, in the 60s you won this many trophies, in the 70s won this many trophies, in the 80s won this many trophies, in the 90s won this many trophies, right? And I was looking at it, I thought that's a great way to put it, right? Because in those eras, like we weren't always in like top 4 or there wasn't a top 4 back then in the sense where it is now because of the way the money works, right? But if you look at it, it's like I would rather have a fluctuated league positioning if it meant we were going to win trophies every season, 100%, because that's what we're in football for, right? And I know at the end of the day, owners want top 4 because of the money side of things, right?
Yeah.
And the attraction of bringing better players. But let's be honest, Tottenham have been in the Champions League. What? How many times have they been in the Champions League in the last 10 years, right? A lot, quite a lot, more so than not, right? And we haven't done anything. We look at where we are right now since when we first got into the Champions League. We're now 8th in the table, right? And we're probably on the verge of maybe in a year's time losing our best ever player. And it's like what the fans actually want. For me, I just want to see a style of football now, right? And try and win something or try and compete to win something with a style of football. I don't care where we finish because at the end of the day, I don't think our owners really give a shit about winning titles. So we have to try and take the most of what we can get right now. And for me, I don't want to watch boring football anymore. I want to watch exciting football. And like things like I just don't want to see it anymore. I just want to see decent football. I think that's
we finished 10th in 1981, and I remember that as a fantastic season because it ended with an FA Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, look, I'm going to round the show off with 3 comments that I wanted to pick up. The first one was this. Well, top 4, top 5 enable Spurs to play Champions League, and some fans want their team in that competition and want them to play against Madrid, Barca and Bayern. For sure. I think everyone would love that. But again, Leon, it comes down to being pragmatic about the situation we're in. Let's be realistic where we are. We are not going to be favourites to be the top 5 in that league. You've got Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, Newcastle. Chelsea will bounce back strong. Villa will spend. There is, to think that we should be top 4 or 5 as a fan, I'd be deluded if I'm honest. The next one I saw is this sums it up. This sums up
I was going to say
fans
this
for
as
me.
well. Yeah.
So Postecoglou isn't good enough, and you know that how. How the hell is an Aussie League level coach, when he's not managing in the Aussie League, he's managed in 3 different leagues, going to be able to get us to compete? Now, there's the word. The fact you think we should be competing right now is the worry. That's my worry, guys, that fans going into next season will think, whoever the new manager is, whether it's Postecoglou, Vincent Kompany, whoever, that we should be a top 4 team. And these are the same fans that will then moan about how bad our players are, but still expect us to finish 4th. It's baffling. And then the last comment was...
I've got one as well I want to ask
I think that says it all, though. An Aussie, what do Australians know about football? Well, he was born in Greece, migrated as a kid over to Australia. Football over here is a minority sport for migrants. Football has been in his head since he was a kid. He knows far more football than Nagelsmann. What's Nagelsmann done? I don't get it.
Let me also tell the people this if they don't know, right? Because it was actually Postecoglou that wanted to bring Matoma to Celtic because he knew. And then when they couldn't bring him in, he recommended Brighton to sign Matoma because he said he would be a player, right? So Matoma was signed by Brighton because of Postecoglou's scouting, because he found the player, right? So people want to talk about, Matoma's such a good player. Well, it was Postecoglou that knew him because he knows the Asian market very well. So people want to sit there and be like, Ant doesn't know anything, right? He knows a lot about the football world, especially in the Asian market. And I'm telling you what, he could find some gems in that market. I'm telling you. If you like Matoma, then I think you should look at what he could actually do with limited funds at someone like Spurs and bring in those kind of caliber of players who are not really known to people, but he could make them unbelievable. And there was also one other point I wanted to see, but someone said about Levy's apparently held talks with Luis Enrique. For me, I don't want Luis Enrique anywhere near this club because he's too much. He reminds me too much of a Conte type of person in terms of he's a very big ego. He's going to want specific things, and the club are not going to give him what he wants. It's just going to end in complete failure again. We need someone like a Postecoglou who will come in and he hasn't got the expectations of someone like a Luis Enrique, because the fans will get confused, right, by bringing in someone like him, because they think that now we've got a top level manager, we should be expecting to be at the top, but it's not going to happen because this club is an absolute mess. So we need someone to come in and build those foundations again, really. And
I think that's a great note to end the show, and I think that's it. I think the problem is you want a top manager, but I think fans equate top manager to being a top team. Yeah. And unfortunately, we're not there yet. But hey, listen, we're always going to have that. I think a few years of Champions Leagues have made people think that we're a lot bigger and more attractive than we are. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with having ambition. But let's be realistic about this. All I hope is if Ange comes in next week, I really hope that the fans get behind him. I really hope that we... look, here we go. Look, there we go. Here's another one.
Yeah.
Why are you entertaining Postecoglou as manager? Lift your ambitions. Okay, Pipes. Okay, Pipes.
Let me ask Pipes this question. Who would you prefer, Ryan Mason or Brendan Rodgers or Postecoglou?
Or Potter.
Potter. That's the options. It's not going to be anyone else. I don't know why fans think that we're going to go and get Nagelsmann or go and get Amarin. It's not happening. So you have to look at what's out there and what those managers' actual values are. And if you actually did some research in him, you'd find out what Postecoglou is about.
What makes me laugh about all of this is when we're saying lift our ambitions. Listen, I could sit here and as an ambitious fan say, next year I want to win the treble.
Yeah.
This summer I want to sign Declan Rice. This summer I want to sign Kvaratskhelia from Napoli. Just because I have that ambition doesn't mean it's going to happen. Yeah. So Pipes, I'm waiting for your list.
Pipes' response. Yeah, none of them.
Right. Okay. Pipes. Give me your top 3 managers you want Spurs to sign. I'll keep the show going. I've bitten.
I want to see who he thinks we can realistically get.
Bang on. Kudos. It's not our ambition. It's the club's ambition, and it's where we are. Kudos. Right. It's where we are as a club. I'd love to know, Pipes. Will you see? But notice how Pipes. Here we go. Let's get into a battle.
He doesn't know us. That's the thing.
No, he doesn't know us. Right. Here we go. Right. Here we go. Right. Nagelsmann, who turned us down. There you go. There's your first one. That's pointless. Luis Enrique, who's in talks with Napoli. Why are you joining Tottenham over Napoli? Champions League, Italian champions. Yeah.
Money.
Ruben Amorim. Isn't it like a 25, 30 million pound buyout clause to get the manager?
And he finished 4th in Portugal.
So Pipes, please explain why. Listen, I love Luis Enrique's style of football. I'm a big advocate of that style of football. But if you bring Luis Enrique into this club, you think we're going to get 11 players playing tiki-taka football the way he plays?
Eric Dyer.
Right. Okay. If Enrique's turned down Napoli, okay. If we get him, we get him. I've got no problem with Luis Enrique being manager of this club, but what will happen is fans like you will be wanting immediate success and will not give him the time to build the same as any other manager needs to build.
And Levy won't give him what he wants. At least Postecoglou knows where bargains are. Yeah, and when I say bargains, I don't mean crap players. I mean great players that are just in different markets or, are developing. He can spot them. All these big managers, they require the finished article. And you know what? You buy them, and even that doesn't work sometimes.
Yeah.
It just baffles me. Listen, I've never understood this. Like I had this the other day, guys, when I turned around and somebody said, oh, Spurs have definitely got to put in a bid for Vardial this summer. And I turned around and said, there is absolutely no chance of that happening. No. There is more chance of me playing centre forward for Tottenham Hotspur at the age of 40 than there is Spurs going to buy Vardial. the most sought after defender in world football. People are going, oh, you've got to up your ambition. Yeah, it's my ambition that's going to stop Vardy wanting to join Tottenham, not his ambition of wanting to go to Man City, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. It's baffling how fans don't understand our club. This guy, I can't deal with him anymore. I just feel we're so in denial of what we are as a football club, guys.
Yeah.
See, Pipes. See, whereas I think Savva and Danny are coming from, that's the level we're at. I actually think that Ange is genuinely one of the best coaches in the world because, and I can only say that because I've seen him for the last 20 years. If you'd have seen what I saw, you'd probably have a similar opinion. You just haven't seen him that long. It's not because I'm Australia or anything like that. We've got loads of coaches in Australia. They're all crap. They couldn't manage Port Vale. But this is the guy who is good.
Do you want to know something, Paul? I read an article a couple of days ago, which is really interesting, and I'll see if I can get it up again. And what it was that there was a point where Man City weren't sure if Pep Guardiola was going to sign a renewed contract before he signed his renewed contract, right? And there was talk that they were going to bring in Postecoglou. They were going to bring him in, right, until to steady the ship, basically, because they believed he has the right philosophy of what the similar values to what Pep has in the way that his man management is, his style of football, and all this kind of stuff. Now, if the man, obviously that would have come from Pep because he obviously worked under the Man City group, right? So if that's coming from Man City to say that he was looked as an option to manage them, what does that tell you in terms of his actual ability as a manager and as a coach, right? For me, that says it all. If someone like Man City were looking at him as potentially the next manager if Pep didn't sign his new contract. So, and like Tom Thacker just said, right? Pep Guardiola admires Postecoglou. He does. He admires. There's a few managers he does admire. And Postecoglou is one of them because of the way his philosophy is. And fans who say, "Oh, he's shit," or he's just an Aussie manager, or whatever it is, they don't know. They don't really do their research, and that's the thing. They don't really look into it.
Yeah, I'm just disappointed that more people don't understand what we are anymore as a football club. That's the thing for me. I think a couple of years in Champions League has made people think that we're this global beast that can compete with City and Chelsea and Arsenal and you know, again, look, you know, why has he not been recruited by anyone in the Prem? He's 57 years old. I listen.
Brighton nearly signed him.
I can answer that. He was in the national setup for 11 years for a start, and it's very hard to break out of Australia to anywhere in the world. And he's kind of done it as soon as he could. He went to Japan. He's gone to Scotland, and he ain't going to go to some Mickey Mouse, you know, Crystal Palace in the Premier League. He is better than that. And besides, I've written a song which I'm recording with a mate on Saturday, so I'm hoping he gets hired. Otherwise, it's going to be a waste of effort, that one.
Look, just quickly. So, Pipes, this is a sentence I used to use all the time when I said, as a fan base, we have the club we deserve. And then I changed my way because, you know, I realised that it doesn't matter what we want. What we get is two different things. And listen, I admire that you want the best managers that are out there. But for me, Ruben Amorim, I'll ask the question, what's he done? I'm not saying if he came, I wouldn't back him. But Ruben Amorim, what's he done that makes you want him? Nagelsmann, okay. But what makes us think we can compete with Bayern Munich level managers? And Luis Enrique, I love Luis Enrique, by the way. I love his style. I just cannot see. I think if you brought in Luis Enrique to this club, I think it's another Conte Jose situation where he's going to get very frustrated very quickly with how bad our players are, how bad our owners are. And I think he'll be jumping ship in 18 months. Again, I'll just end on that. No one's championing the guy. I just think everyone's turning down every manager. And you've come at me with no realistic suggestions. You're a typical football fan with no suggestions.
I'm championing.
Your opinion's crap. All right, well, give me another opinion. 3 unrealistic people. All right, cool. I live in the real world. Hey,
Pipes. You can say I'm quite happy for you to say this because, as I say, Celtic fans were all over it, saying the same things. In a year's time, you'll have a great big smile on your face. You'll be enjoying the football that Tottenham are playing, and you'll look back on your comments and think, "God, I got that one wrong."
Yeah, it's one of those things though. Straight away, this type of fan, straight away, the moment things don't go right for a couple of weeks next season, will be straight away going, "Told you." Right?
Yeah, 100%.
And
it's like you said earlier. It's the fact that not many people wanted or knew about Poch really properly in terms of when he was hired. Everyone was like, "Oh, look, we didn't get our first target. We didn't get Van Gaal. We didn't get De Boer because they were the two main targets before we even brought in Poch, and we couldn't get them, so we brought in Pochettino, right? And look how that turned out. We played some of the best football under him in the Premier League era. So
yeah."
It's and if you actually look at the actual managerial appointments over the last 15 years, all of our best managers have come at times when they haven't been our top targets. They've always been our kind of other options, and they've always been the most unexpected ones, the ones who haven't really been expected to do much. Right.
Same with players. Same with players and managers.
Same with players.
When we buy the big players at 60 million, when we get the Joses and the Contes, it's never the success. The best teams I've enjoyed watching have been under Harry Redknapp, who came from Portsmouth at the time. Harry Redknapp, who came from Portsmouth. Pochettino came from Southampton. Yeah. Right. Whereas Jose and Conte have got a list as long as my arm of trophies that they've won. But listen, guys, I do need to go.
Go back further. Keith Birkinshaw came in as an assistant, and he did all right.
So did Martin Yole.
Yeah. I think a lot of fans forget our history very, very quickly. I really do. And I know it's sensationalistic. And listen, I want to sit here and go, yeah, let's go and get Klopp. Let's go and get Pep. Yeah, let's go and get Ancelotti. But let's be really honest. Come on, guys. We've seen this with Jose and Conte. Anyway, guys, I'm off. I will be back at 4 p.m. for a transfer show, which is not about Tottenham, so we don't have to. I relax more when it's just about other clubs. Join me at 4 o'clock for the transfer show. I will see you all then. And thank you, Danny. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks for having me.
Go and subscribe. Always welcome, man. Always go and subscribe to Tottenham on Tour. Subscribe to myself, and as always, a video of someone winning something.
And here comes Hurst. He's got some people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is now.